call this committee meeting to order. It is Thursday, February 16th, 2023. It is 6:03 p.m. and this is the Minnesota Education Finance Committee. We have before us members Senate File 32. I'd like to welcome Senator McEwen and our guests that are here this evening to talk about this important issue. Senator McEwen, before you introduce your bill, I understand you have an amendment. Would you like the committee to incorporate the amendment to put the bill in the shape that you would like the committee to consider the bill? Yes, please, Madam Chair. I have an A1 amendment. Great. And so now that the A1 amendment is before us, Senator, can you just tell us a little bit about your amendment?
Yes, Madam Chair, the amendment is principally just doing some cleanup, and then it is also conforming the bill with some amendments that were added on the House side. So there have been a couple of changes in the way that we plan to handle this financially through the departments, and those changes are reflected in the amendment, and they've already been adopted in the House. So we want it to go together.
Thank you, Senator McEwen. Senator, I failed to move the amendment. And so, Senator Gustafson, would you please move the A1 amendment?
So moved.
Thank you. All right, now we've had the A1 amendment before us. You've described it. Are there any questions on the amendment? All right, seeing none, let's see, we're going to move it out of our committee, so we'll need a quick voice vote. Seeing there's no questions or comments? All right. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The A1 is amended. As amended is adopted. Okay, now that we have the bill before us as amended, Senator McEwen, would you please introduce your bill?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And just to make sure that everybody is clear, the A1 amendment was a delete all amendment. So all of the testimony that we're hearing, all of the information going forward is going to be to the bill as it is now amended with the A1 amendment. And so that is appropriate. Madam Chair and members, first of all, I just want to thank each and every one of you, as well as the staff for the Senate Education Finance Committee. Thank you so much for accommodating us to hear this bill this evening. I know it's not a small ask to ask people to come in after the typical workday is over, and we have been having long days in the Minnesota Senate, as I am well aware of. So I cannot thank you enough for accommodating all of us this evening so that we can hear testimony from people who are working during the day and can't otherwise offer that testimony. So thank you very much. Members, I am honored to present Senate File 32, which is legislation that will end the exclusion of hourly school employees from our unemployment insurance program. This important policy would ensure that the tens of thousands of bus drivers, paraprofessionals, educational assistants, custodial staff, lunchroom and food service staff, and other hourly workers in our schools, colleges, and universities have the same access to unemployment benefits that other Minnesota workers have when they become unemployed. What this bill does is simple. It adds a provision to current law providing that hourly school workers can use the wage credits they've earned to collect unemployment if they are otherwise eligible for unemployment benefits. In other words, this bill removes a blanket exclusion in current law that prevents hourly workers in our schools and universities from being able to access unemployment insurance between academic terms. We know that these Minnesotans do amazing work in our schools. These are the hardworking, often lowest paid workers in our schools and on our college and university campuses that support, feed, drive, care for, and clean up after our students. These workers have always deserved the fairness this bill would provide, and the disruption and hardship of the last few years with the pandemic has only increased the need for this law to change. I want to highlight a few reasons why this policy is important for our schools and our workforce. First, this is a critical safety net for the Minnesotans working paycheck to paycheck to care for Minnesota students. Most people need to work year-round, and these workers are no exception, and they are already underpaid. Many of these school employees are making under $15 an hour without access to health care or insurance. They are living paycheck to paycheck and working to support their families. Providing that economic safety net for workers out of work through no fault of their own is exactly what the unemployment insurance system is for. Unemployment insurance is the safety net that most Minnesotans have access to and rely on for economic security if they need it. This policy will also provide stability for our students, our classrooms, and our campuses by providing economic security for our school workforce. As we all know, we have a workforce staffing crisis in our schools. I know that I hear about it in my district. I am sure that all of you are hearing about that as well in your districts and throughout the state. A shortage of bus drivers means parents are left to figure out how are they going to get their kids to school. It means kids in classrooms are left with insufficient support that ESPs and paras provide. It means campuses without the staff to provide transportation, food, and custodial services that students rely on. And it's stressful for our students, our teachers, our school districts, and our campuses, and for these workers themselves. Our current law makes it harder to recruit and retain these workers that our schools rely upon. These positions are jobs with a high turnover rate and often low pay and no guarantee of work for 3 to 4 months out of the year. Excluding these workers from unemployment insurance makes it harder to retain them, as workers sometimes decide to move on to other jobs after they are essentially laid off at the end of the school year without certainty of a paycheck in the summer months. The current exclusion in law means that schools lose this valuable staff and our students lose important relationships with caring adults. This policy change provides stability in our workforce. It is critical to ensure that we recruit and retain these critical school staff to keep them in our schools so that they can continue to support and care for our kids. This is also just the right and fair thing to do. These Minnesotans are playing critical roles in our schools and on our campuses, providing one-on-one support to students with disabilities, ensuring our students have access to healthy food, providing a clean and safe environment for students to learn, and safe transport to and from classes. Yet, they don't have the same economic security as other Minnesota workers. This workforce is majority women and often people of color. These are school workers that get a lot of lip service from the public and from us about how essential and important they are to helping our schools run, helping our society run. But we need to do more than pay them lip service. We need to ensure that they have what they need to provide for themselves and their families, and to continue the good work that they do for our kids. So in conclusion, members, the status quo isn't fair for Minnesota workers. Current law treats some school workers, for example, doing the same job differently based on who their employer is. It creates a situation where two food services workers, for example, who are doing the exact same work in a school are treated differently. The person employed by a private subcontractor is eligible for unemployment under Minnesota law, while the person employed by the school district is not. This policy would mean that school employees have the same access to unemployment insurance no matter who writes their checks. Also, current law treats school employees differently from other workers in industries with seasonal employment. So, for example, landscaping, resort employees, construction trades, for example. These workers are eligible for unemployment while school workers are not. This just is not fair. And this bill will end this fundamental unfairness. So members, that is the essence of what this bill is all about. And we have a number of people signed up to offer testimony today about this issue. And with that, Madam Chair, I will conclude my opening remarks.
Thank you so much, Senator McEwen. And I just want to, before we start, I wanted to say that I recognize the role that all of these hourly employees have played, especially in the last 3 or 4 years with COVID. I myself was an educator for 25 years with educational assistants helping me in my library, with educational assistants helping our students with disability, our EL students, the food service folks that kept our kids fed morning and afternoon, and then came in during the pandemic and packed lunches, packed breakfasts, and had them ready to distribute to kids and families in need. And so I just want to say thank you right now to all of our hourly workers who for so long not only are working for a bit of a salary, but also many of you that are working to pay your health insurance and only your health insurance. I had an assistant that her whole entire check would go to health insurance. And in the summertime, when she wasn't getting an hourly wage from the school, she had to take 2 more jobs in order to continue to pay her health insurance for her family. This is no way for folks to live. When you say paycheck to paycheck, one little slip, one little extra expense, and these folks are in debt and obviously, and in so many ways, aren't able to find their way out of it. And so thank you so much, Senator McEwen, for bringing this forward. If anything, the pandemic only magnified this situation, and we are right here, right now, in a position to make that difference, not just to the folks here in this room, but to all of those hundreds, maybe even thousands of people that are keeping our schools safe, keeping our schools healthy, getting our kids to and fro, and doing the work that we need to ensure that our kids are safe and healthy and happy. And so with that, I'm going to call folks up 2 by 2, if you don't mind. So David Camper, if you would come up first, and then Adosh Uni. And then when they leave, I'll call up the next 2. Thank you. Mr. Kemper, do you have a video or something you're going to connect?
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay.
And I'd already tested it. All I got to do is plug it in.
Just wanted to be sure that we just didn't go black. And so when you are ready, Mr. Kemper, would you please state your full name, and then you may begin your testimony.
Thank you, Chair Kunish, Vice Chair Gustafson. My name is Dave Camper. I am with the Economic Policy Institute in Washington, D.C., though I live here in Minnesota in Senator Hoffman's district. We are a nonpartisan, nonprofit think tank dedicated to improving the lives of working people and advancing the causes of racial and gender justice. And I am here to discuss the research that we did in 2021 on the costs and benefits of this bill as it was proposed last year and again this year. We were able to do this research and what I'm going to prepare today because the state of Illinois implemented a measure very similar to this in the summer of 2020. And the characteristics of that bill were similar enough to this one that we were able to draw comparisons, and that's what I'm basing my talk on today. Thank you very much. Real quick, I want to just run through who school support staff are. As Senator McEwen ably noted during her opening remarks for the bill, Women, Black, and Hispanic workers are disproportionately represented in these positions. They are a higher share in school support staff positions than the overall workforce, and that has been the case for as long as anyone can remember. Alongside of this, these positions are paid very low wages. As I'll note here, it's not just the hourly rate of pay, it's the hours of work. So for example, school bus drivers receive an hourly, the typical school bus driver receives an hourly rate, I'm gonna try that whole sentence again. School bus drivers receive an hourly wage 20% below that of the typical worker. But because the average school bus driver does not work a 40-hour week, their net wages in a week are 40% below that of the typical worker. The low pay of school support staff strongly helps explain why so many of them are leaving their jobs and why so many school districts in Minnesota and elsewhere are struggling to find these positions. Now, when we get to the question of how do we cost and how do we figure out how much this is going to cost and who it's going to benefit, a couple of things I want to note up front. The first is no state currently has this measure in force. Illinois did it in 2020. Oregon has it for school custodians. There might be something that happened in New Mexico, but I don't have data on it yet. But when the United States unemployment insurance system was put in place in the Social Security Act of 1935, it excluded all kinds of occupations, including agricultural workers, domestic workers, seasonal workers of all kinds. Over the years, many of those occupations have been brought into the unemployment insurance system, including, as Senator McEwen pointed out, seasonal employees in construction, resorts, and other places. School support staff have never been included in this. As such, we're kind of breaking new ground here, which is sort of fun. But I would also like to remind folks the nature of how unemployment insurance works. In Minnesota, unemployment compensation is 50% of your normal wages. And no one can take unemployment if suitable offers of employment are available. You may hear today from other testifiers a concern about people wanting to work during summer school hours or something if they can collect unemployment already. I want to assure you that if an offer of summer school employment in your same job is available, those folks can't turn it down to collect unemployment. There is a persistent myth in American society that workers can use unemployment to get out of having to work. Our system does not allow that. If employment is available, you've got to take it. So with that in mind, when we figure out what's this going to cost and who it's going to benefit, the key word is recipiency, which is how many people will receive unemployment insurance, and what's the uptake going to be? And there are two key questions that go into this for this group of people. First, how many non-licensed school staff already work for the school district in the summer, either part-time or full-time? As you will hear from other testifiers today, a great many of them do work some of the summer. Very few are able to work the whole summer, but a great many non-licensed school staff will work at least part of the summer. And then, of course, how many have other summer employment? We all know that folks who have summer jobs at resorts, I used to have a summer job in the amusement park. Those folks also would then not be part of this. And so how do we figure out who this is going to benefit and how much it's going to cost? And so this is where the Illinois example comes in, because Illinois enacted effectively the same bill in 2020. If their example is followed here, the net uptake would be the equivalent of 11% of the total workforce over the whole summer. Now, as I said, many of these folks would take unemployment potentially for just a couple of weeks. So the total number of school support staff who would be impacted would be substantially greater than 11%. But on a sort of a full person, full summer equivalent, it's 11% if the Illinois numbers hold up. And we did at EPI, when we did this, we did adjust for the very unique economic circumstances of the summer of 2020 when a lot of people had already been laid off, and we built this into these calculations. If the Illinois example holds up, that will add up to about 75,000 weeks of unemployment claimed in Minnesota, the equivalent to 6,800 employees for the whole summer. Though, as I say, I suspect that number would be 2, 3, or even 4 times that number for periods of time less than the summer. The average full summer pay for those individuals would be $4,058. Based on a full summer year, that's $28 million total expenditure. Or, the way I prefer to think about it, $28 million put into the pockets of low-wage workers. Now, Some of you may have seen and already reviewed the fiscal note produced by the Department of Employment and Economic Development, and their number that they use is $162 million, and you might quite reasonably wonder why I say 28 million and they say 162. Well, let me first stress that I have nothing but respect for the fine folks at the Department of Employment and Economic Development who are doing their job and doing it well. Two key points I would make. The first is that we're doing a different calculation than they are. We calculate it based on a real-life example. Our view is, if you have a real-life example, use it. And that's what should guide your thinking. Because the fiscal note that came out did not show all the assumptions that underlay Deed's analysis, I'm unable to, unfortunately, address every piece of it, but their number seems to assume that nearly all school support staff will collect unemployment, and they will collect it for nearly all of the summer. I will tell you that does not seem at all likely, given that economy-wide in Minnesota, recipiency for unemployment is 39 to 45%, at least it was during the pre-pandemic years, which I think are the best comparison. And as such, I think this $162 million number just strikes me as one I can't quite justify, and I think our $28 million number, agree with it or disagree with it, is based on solid data from Illinois. I'd like to make just one personal observation before I finish. I know I've already taken a lot of time, and I appreciate your forbearance, Chair Kunish. Many years ago, 20 years ago, I lived in central Illinois, and I worked for a teachers union. And among the people I represented were school support staff in the tiny town of Havana, Illinois. And there was a school support staffer there who I knew well. She was a special ed aide. She cared about those kids a lot. She put a ton of time into it. In the spring and in the fall, she had to turn off her utilities. In Illinois, in central Illinois, you can kind of get away with that in the spring and the fall. But she couldn't afford to have water and power and phone and heat and gas during the spring and the fall. So she would turn it off. She'd go to the school to take her showers, and she'd do her laundry there. And she just sort of hoped she wouldn't have a call of nature in the middle of the night, because caring for these kids was so important to her that she was willing to take a job that didn't pay that much. I'd like to see no one ever have to face that situation again. And that's why we're hoping that you'll support this bill and support the workers who do such important work for our kids. I want to thank you so much for the time. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Camper. Next, we're going to hear from Adosh Uni and then Sarah Cook, if you would like to step up when the seat comes vacant. Mr. Uni, would you please state your full name for the record, and you may begin.
Madam Chair, committee members, my name is Adosh Uni. I'm the Director of Government Relations for the Minnesota Department of Education, and I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to provide support for this bill to establish an aid program so that currently exempt hourly school workers qualify for unemployment insurance during the summer period. And I'd like to thank Senator McEwen for her leadership here in the Senate on advancing this proposal. Governor and Lieutenant Governor also recommended in their budget removing this limitation during summer breaks to make school workers eligible to collect UI benefits and provide aid in the education package to cover the cost. This proposal supports many of our workers that are so critical to the needs and success of our students and families. They are indispensable classroom partners with our teachers to help our kids learn how to read, do math, and become our future leaders. They provide the critical extra services our students with special needs are entitled to and deserve. They pick our kids up in the morning and drop them off after school safely. They provide that before and after school programming that provides that deep enrichment for students, and that can be so crucial for parents who don't work just during school hours. And they provide nutritious food to our kids to keep them full so they can focus on being a kid and learning. Simply put, schools would not be able to run without these hourly school workers. They are essential. We will hear from many about the challenges these workers face, especially when confronted with shortfalls in work during the summer months. And we know that one of the reasons we face a workforce shortage is because of the prospect for many of them that lack summer employment. And a prohibition on qualifying for unemployment insurance makes it far less viable to stay in that line of work, which only serves to exacerbate this shortage. This relief put forth in SF 32 and by the governor and lieutenant governor will help these school workers support themselves and their families, while also countering challenging trends in recruitment and retention for these critical roles in our schools. Again, thank you for the opportunity to provide support for this extremely important initiative.
Thank you, Mr. Uni. Next on deck is Tiffany Guston, but in the meantime, Sarah Cook, if you would like to state your full name for the record, and then you may begin your testimony.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Sarah Cook. Thank you, Chair Kunish and members of the committee for the opportunity, especially at night, to testify in support of Senate File 32. And thank you, Senator McEwen, for authoring this bill. I'm the parent of a special needs student in the Roseville School District. Routine and stability are very important to my son Miles and to students like him. Just like many adults, children with special needs feel more confident and secure when their daily activities and the people who lead and help with those activities are familiar and predictable. And research has consistently shown that confident, secure students learn better. In elementary school, Miles and our family were fortunate enough to have the same special education paraprofessional from kindergarten through 5th grade. If you are in the school community at all, you know that that is unheard of. Miss Beth knew Miles and us inside out. She knew that redirection was the best way to get Miles to come inside from recess if he refused, and that talking about Star Wars, Marvel superheroes, or Minecraft would help calm him down when he became upset. Most importantly, she knew what he was capable of and pushed him when he was needed. Miles loved Miss Beth like a family member, and so did we. Unfortunately, what we experienced with Miss Beth is extremely rare, and it hasn't happened since. Miles is now in 8th grade. Most families, mine included, experience a lot of instability with their child's special education team. We never know who will be there year to year. More than likely, at least one paraprofessional will choose to keep working their summer job at Walmart or Pizza Hut instead of returning to the job they love because it's bigger and more stable paycheck. Making paraprofessionals and other hourly school workers eligible for unemployment in the summer is just one small thing that we could do to keep more of them in the profession and to give kids like Miles more stability in the classroom. Every school district in Minnesota is experiencing severe paraprofessional shortages this school year. I argue that we can't afford to keep doing nothing to keep them in the classroom. Our state has a $17.6 billion surplus, and our schools are due to receive a historic chunk of that money. That's more than enough to do right by our hourly school workers. Special education paraprofessionals are the best of us. They keep our schools running, and they deserve more. Please support Senate File 32. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Cook. Next, we'll hear from Ms. Guston, but if we could have Leah Harper come up. And in the meantime, Ms. Guston, if you would like to state your full name, and you may begin your testimony.
Good evening, and thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Tiffany Guston. I am the Associate Director of Management and Insurance Trust Services with the Minnesota School Boards Association. On behalf of Minnesota School Boards, I would like to express concerns about Senate File 32. However, I would first like to establish several points where I believe there would be consensus among this evening's testifiers and those present for the hearing tonight. First, school districts are tasked with providing an education to Minnesota's students, not just an education, but a quality education. In order to do so, school districts must hire and maintain quality staff. One valuable tool school districts utilize to provide a quality education is summer programming, which is vital for ensuring the success of many of Minnesota's children. School districts provide the summer programming to allow students to learn material that was not mastered during the prior academic year and to prevent, slow, or reverse the summer learning loss. School district employees work hard. Each and every day they come to work, and these 9-month employees impact the lives of our children. They impact the future of our children. Their work is important, valued, and should be acknowledged, and should certainly not be simply lip service. On a personal level, I would like to further acknowledge I worked in a school district prior to working for MSBA for 10 years, and I can tell you with 100% certainty that I would make a terrible bus driver. I have 2 children. I could not control my 2 children in my Ford Explorer, let alone controlling dozens of them in a 77-passenger bus. I would also struggle in the role of a paraprofessional. Anyone who knows me that patience is not one of my virtues. I will provide one final example, and my family knows that my skills in the kitchen fall far short of what would be required in a school cafeteria. So what's my point? On behalf of Minnesota's school boards, I want to acknowledge and express appreciation once again for these employees who would be impacted if this bill becomes law. They are a vital and important part of our educational system. Their skills are valuable, necessary, and are certainly not held by everyone. Instead, this testimony is aimed at expressing our concerns on how this bill would impact a school district's ability to serve its students. I will begin with the unmet educational needs of students. MSBA staff members speak weekly to school districts from all areas of the state of Minnesota. On nearly a daily basis, they report that one of the biggest challenges that they are facing is finding people to fill vacancies during the school year, but also during the summer months. When positions go unfilled, students go unserved. The availability of unemployment during the summer may exacerbate an already existing problem with summer programming and filling those hourly summer positions. This may have the greatest impact on our special education students, as was recently testified by a parent, students who thrive when there is consistency, routine, and familiar faces incorporated into their education. However, other program needs, including targeted services, career and technical education, community education, and early childhood, those needs will also go unmet. We have concerns about the complications of administering the language. We have concerns specifically about the language that says comparable suitable employment. This will become a topic of bargaining at the bargaining table. If there is one summer para position that goes unfilled, are all of the employees within that classification ineligible? Will this language have to be negotiated at the bargaining table, or how will this be implemented? And if it is the subject of bargaining, there can certainly be inconsistencies amongst school districts, which could create a demand issue between neighboring districts. Another concern that we have is the source of funding. Minnesota school boards would suggest that funding for unemployment benefits should not be part of the education bill. Financial resources committed through the education bill should be used to support, create, and sustain educational programming in our classrooms within school district facilities that are properly and safely maintained. Because school districts do not have unemployment insurance, school boards acknowledge and appreciate the proposed funding mechanism tied to this bill. However, if the funding is reduced or eliminated in the future in state budget cycles, local taxpayers will be saddled with significant increases to property taxes via the levy mechanism. These increases will lessen community members' ability and willingness to support bond and operating levies. Failed referenda take money out of our buildings, out of our classrooms, and away from our children. We ask that consideration be given to tying the payment of these benefits to the continued availability of state-provided funding. As a former school business official, my role was to be a responsible steward for district's resources, balancing all the needs of the stakeholders with responsibility with the goal of maximizing student achievement. Now, as an employee of MSBA, I represent school boards who have been elected to serve their school districts. Their goal also is to maximize student achievement while supporting their staff and communities. With student achievement in mind, let's work together to find a new, unique way to attract, maintain, and recognize the efforts of these 9-month employees without increasing the risk of workplace shortages. Because when positions go unfilled, students go unserved. While our solutions to addressing these challenges may differ as we testify tonight, I think that we can all find consensus and that we're trying to do what's best for our students. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Ms. Gustin. Next, we have Leah Harper, who is coming to us virtually. Leah, if you would like to please state your name, full name for the record, and then you may begin.
Thank you. I am Leah Harp, and I'm changing gears from the lady who just spoke, and I've written what I have to say because I get so upset about this topic, I start crying, and reading it might help me stay businesslike. And I would like to start by thanking you all very much for allowing me the opportunity to share how much we depend on paraprofessionals And we depend on them because it is only through quality, happy paraprofessionals that our child is able to attend school in a general education setting. We have a neurodiverse child with learning differences, and he's in 10th grade. Throughout his schooling, it has been important to us that he attend school in the least restrictive environment possible, which for him is in a level 1-2 setting. When he has been programmed in more restrictive settings, it was not sufficiently educationally challenging, and he stagnated and he sat around and nothing happened. Without this quality paraprofessional support, a general education setting would be absolutely impossible for him. My child in particular, he gets from one classroom to the other classroom. He learns schedules, he carries his own pens and books, he understands classroom routines. However, for my child, teachers talk too quickly, they use too many words, sometimes they tell jokes which are meaningless, they use multiple abstract concepts, he doesn't understand this. Large groups of students make noise and are distracting. Worksheets are confusing, meaningless, visually overwhelming. It's difficult to understand how you fit in with this group, and not understanding this throughout the day is very stressful and isolating. So this was a whole long list of very sophisticated needs, not just moving himself around the school, but this is exactly why we need paraprofessionals. Mr. Cochran, Mr. Raskin, Miss Melinda, and now Mr. Walker support his focus and make sure he can engage in the classes. They make sure he's understanding. They modify his verbal and written instructions. They modify his assignments to fit his comprehension and his particular learning needs, which they know. These are sophisticated educational interventions, and they require a high level of training, focus, engagement, and caring. There have been times when he did not receive this high-quality paraprofessional service, and he was unable to participate. This led to him being stressed and frustrated, and us as parents being anxious and frightened. Appropriate schooling plays a vital role in our son's neurological development. It also has a major impact on his occupational future, as you all know. Over the years, we have formed close working relationships with our paraprofessionals. We depend on them, and we are reminded every week how much we depend on them. I cry when we say goodbye to them at the end of the year or when we leave the school, because they've become part of our family and they're so important to us. We're so grateful to them. Without these people, our kid would not be able to learn in this level 1-2 setting, which is the setting most appropriate to him, most inexpensive to the school system, and how it's going to get him to be his best self, whatever that's going to look like when he grows up. To do these sophisticated tasks, it takes a caring, professional paraprofessional to provide the support and educational modifications that our child requires. To attract these people and maintain this level of paraprofessional, the job needs to be a career, and they have to be able to support themselves. Being able to apply for unemployment insurance when they do not have a position offered or available to them for the summer is an important part of retaining quality paraprofessionals. Please help professionalize this position and pass SF 32. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Harper, and thank you for sharing and telling us, reminding us how valuable our paras are when it comes to our teachers and our students. Next, we have Jody Primrose, who is coming to us virtually. Ms. Primrose, if you would please, I can't see if you're on the camera. There you are. Turn your camera on, turn your volume on, and you may introduce yourself and then begin your testimony.
Good evening, and thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Excuse me. My name is Jody Primrose. I am an educational support professional in ISD 181 in Brainerd, Minnesota. I am also on the negotiating team for the ESP union in the district. I would like to share my story and implore you to approve the hourly school worker unemployment insurance. I've been a full-time educational support professional since 2010 and a district employee since 2005. In 2009, at the age of 44, I experienced a divorce, a foreclosure, and a bankruptcy. I became a single parent of 2 elementary-age children. I received no child support. During this period, I worked full-time for the district, as well as 2 and up to 4 part-time jobs to support my family. I am proud to say that both of my children are college graduates now. I am now 58 years old and continue to work what is considered full-time, 37 hours a week as an educational support professional. I have a part-time weekend job and just applied for an additional evening job to ensure that I can continue to pay my mortgage and car payments as the cost of living expenses increase exponentially compared to current wages. As winter turns to spring each year, I, along with many others, began to search for a temporary summer job that will provide a living wage. I took a survey of the 181 ESPs in this school district. 97 of the 119 respondents replied that they have to find temporary jobs during the summer to cover living expenses from the end of one school term to the beginning of the next. Over 50% responded they hold a part-time job during the school year, and the income earned is to keep up with the cost of living. I asked for additional comments that I could share with you on their behalf. I wish I could share all of them and have chosen just a few that clearly state the importance of passing this bill written by Senator McEwen. One comment. Many people stated that they have a spouse that helps with living expenses and still have to find part-time work during the summer months. Another stated, every summer I need to find 1 or more jobs to survive the summer. It is becoming harder and harder to find employers, to hire temporary employees for the summer months. The older I get, the harder that becomes. It is hard to patchwork enough hours for enough pay to support my family during the summer months. Another comment, working multiple jobs to survive leaves me feeling exhausted and not my best self for my family or the students that I support during the school year. Lastly, job opportunities to work in my position as an ESP to earn my current wage are only a few days a week for 3 weeks out of the summer, not enough to sustain my family. Either I work for my school and piecemeal finances together to make ends meet, or I miss an opportunity to work in my position as an ESP, making my current wages, to work a temporary job for less money and still need additional jobs to make ends meet until the summer ends and school resumes in the fall. Educational support professionals are a vital and essential part of the educational system in Minnesota. Extending unemployment insurance benefits to hourly school workers will put us on the same playing field with other seasonal workers, which would help retain ESPs, and in turn would support our learners in Minnesota, which are our future. I want to thank you for the opportunity to share my story. I appreciate and value the chance to weigh in on policy that would greatly impact the well-being of Educational Support Professionals in Minnesota. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Primrose. Thank you for your service as well. Next, we have Rochelle Stoffel and then Scott McMahon. I'm not pronouncing that correctly, but if you would come up and take your seats. And Ms. Stoffel, if you would please introduce yourself for the record, and you may begin.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Rochelle Stoffel. I'm a member of AFSCME Local 844 and Council 5. We represent workers in the St. Paul Public School System. I work as a clerk at East End Middle School, and I've worked in the district for 28 years. And I thank you for hearing my testimony this evening. I'm here to support Senate File 32, and I thank Senator McEwen for authoring this bill. I think that allowing workers like me to access unemployment insurance will protect us if we lose our summer jobs and go without income for months, and it could also address the biggest retention issue for school employees. I hope that my experience helps you understand why this change is so important. Back in the summer of 2020, I faced a serious dilemma when the school year ended. Usually, I could count on 3 seasonal catering jobs to replace my school income until school restarted in the fall. However, I had 2 problems. First, none of the catering jobs were available. As I'm sure you all remember, COVID had everything shut down, including summer session for school, and other hospitality jobs were hit especially hard. It was incredibly challenging and just emotionally a letdown because I enjoy catering a lot, but my coworkers at those jobs had a fallback. They had access to unemployment insurance. This is where my second problem came up. When I tried to apply for unemployment insurance, I was initially given a benefit, but soon after my case was placed into a pending status and I didn't know what I could do to change that. Since my job for most of the year is at ESTEM, I was barred by state law from receiving unemployment insurance benefits, and when I spoke with an unemployment insurance representative, I was informed that I had reasonable assurance that my job would return in the fall, so I wouldn't be granted an exception. Though I was less certain that he was at that time, I did thankfully get to come back. Unfortunately, a lot of my catering jobs never did come back. 2 are done for good, and while 1 came back, it isn't enough to get through the summers. During that first summer, I pulled money out of my deferred comp, and I know others within the district I work in sold family heirlooms. They took out credit card, loan debt, they took equity out of their homes and really did anything they could to get by. Others left working at the school district altogether, all because our school jobs for the majority of the year just isn't enough anymore to pay our bills. Without access to unemployment insurance, working in classrooms, on school buses, and in administrative support roles in schools just isn't a viable of a job when we are required to go without income for months at a time. I think that school workers deserve access to unemployment insurance. We aren't any different than any other workers. They have off seasons just like we do. Construction workers, resort workers. We depend on income year-round. Our bills do not stop in the summer. I hope that you pass Senate File 32 and make unemployment insurance work for all workers that need it. Also, I just wanted to say that back in that summer of 2020, we weren't sure how long school would be closed. There wasn't summer session in school. There was no school. Everything was closed down. All of our other jobs were closed down, and we had no income, nothing to fall back on, and could not get unemployment. Thank you for your time. Hopefully that bill will prevent this if there's ever another epidemic or anything else that would happen that would put us in that situation again. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony this evening. If you'd like to state your full name, and you may begin your testimony.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, thank you for this opportunity. My name is Scott McMahon with Flaherty & Hood, here today on behalf of our client, the Minnesota School Bus Operators Association. A little bit of background as to who we are. In the state of Minnesota, school transportation is provided by school districts and private contractors. The private contractors who I represent provide service for about 60% of the daily school routes to and from school, as well as school activities and so on and so forth. We have about 12,000 yellow buses in the state, so about 60% of those buses are operated on a daily basis by a school bus driver employed by a private contractor. Under current state law, we do provide unemployment benefits to our drivers, but they're not available to all drivers. Right now, if we, at the end of a school year, if we have a 9-month contract with a driver and we guarantee them the following school year that they will have, they can come back and drive for us, those drivers aren't eligible for unemployment. If at the end of a school year we lay off a driver and we let them know that we can't guarantee them service the following school year, those drivers are eligible for unemployment. Under this bill, that will change, and all those bus drivers, whether they're guaranteed employment the following school year or not, will be eligible for unemployment. As a result of that change, we will have a cost impact on the way that our businesses operate and the way that we relate to our school districts. Under that situation, our experience rating as a part of the unemployment policy for the state of Minnesota, those costs will increase. And as you can imagine, we're kind of a monopoly-monopsony situation. It's kind of one vendor, one buyer from the school district standpoint. We have no choice but to pass those costs on to our school districts. So this does have a cost implication from the private contractors on this bill for the way we operate and what our expectations will be from the school district. I do want to acknowledge our appreciation with the bill author. The bill is in a better shape now than it was when it was first introduced. One of the key things that we believe in, and the school administration folks that do as well, is that this needs to be a fully funded proposal. There are costs that school districts are going to have. There are costs that the contractors are going to have. And out of fairness, we need to make sure that the resources are there to pay for those increased costs. The one challenge we do have right now is that the bill still isn't perfect in that the bucket that has been created under this bill to allow the school districts to access funding to cover their costs doesn't allow them to access those fundings to cover the increased contracting costs that they're going to experience. And so right now, under the situation, if our contract for school district for the city of McMahonville goes up by X dollars, the school administration will have no choice but to pull those dollars out of their general fund rather than this unemployment refund account that is being established. And so our hope is that as things go forward, that the policy language can be amended to allow school districts to access those funds to cover their internal school district costs as well as their contractor costs that we'll be having conversation with them about. Secondly, under state policy, we're allowed to enter into transportation contracts with school districts for up to 10 years. And so this fall, we had contractors who entered into contracts that are 8, 9, 10 years. This is a cost that's going to come at us a lot sooner than that 10-year. And so our hope is that we can figure out some sort of language that will allow the school districts and their contractors to come back to the table to figure out, kind of how we restructure contracts to make sure that we're not being asked to burden this cost for 8 or 9 or 10 years until the contract comes up for renewal again, but that these funds can be accessed in the meantime. The final point that I want to make is under unemployment insurance policies, our experience rating, which I mentioned is what our cost impact will come in, has a 3-year look-back window. And so it's going to take 6 years from the time that this policy is enacted until kind of the true cost from the contractor side is going to be fully in the system as we look back to 3 years, and then we have 3 full years of the unemployment cost. And so when we look at the funding that's going to be needed for this, we need the commitment that over the next 3 biennia that we're looking at what are the costs in the first biennium, the second biennium, and the third biennium before the cost impact of this kind of stabilizes and we have a good sense as to what the ongoing annual costs are going to be for this policy. I appreciate the opportunity to testify on this. Happy to work with the bill author, with the committee, with the chamber. We've been in conversation with Department of Education and DEED on this issue. I think by the time this bill is done, we can get there to where it needs to be. The bill's not there yet, but we have time that we can get it in the right shape to be able to work for all stakeholders. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McMahon. Next, we have Luan Mo. And then we'll go to Christy Elliott, who is virtual. If you would state your full name, and then you may begin your testimony.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Luan Mo. I'm here to testify on behalf of my brothers and sister of school bus driver that's struggling to make ends meet during this summer months when we are laid off. I am proud to be a 17-year Teamster member and bus driver. But I'm more proud that my profession deliver the most, haven't done this for a long time, important asset we have. Our children to and from school every day in a safely manner. As a bus driver, my colleague and I love what we do. We get daily opportunity to give positive start to school children's lives. In many cases, we are the first adult they see every morning. We take our job seriously and know that we value assets to the beginning of the children's days. As a bus driver, providing for my family and children, my children, I can tell you this job isn't easy. I've been doing it for 17 years. I start at 5 in the morning, work long day. Most day, I don't get done until 6 due to split shift. In fact, morning when I leave, consistency is very important, especially when children have to wait outside time in inclement weather. Having a regular bus driver that knows the route is so important so that children do not endure a long wait outside. That could be unsafe. Today you may hear opponent come and say they are opposed because this will increase the cost then it will be transferred to the school district. That is false and dishonest because cost of training a new driver is substantial. In fact, instead, a new driver costs approximately $2,500 just to train to get behind the wheel. An additional 2 weeks behind the wheel, and if they don't pass, it might be additional training longer. Secondly, the company offers $3,000 sign-on bonus. And of course, it's breaking after getting a license and be there 30-day, 90-day, and return following year. And this cost is about $5,500 or more each trainee. When you consider at least a third of the workforce lost every year during the summer months. In addition, Minnesota is one of the only state that does not provide unemployment benefit for a school bus driver. And our employer pay hundreds and thousands of dollars when we don't have enough driver and they need to borrow driver from other state where bus driver qualify for unemployment benefit because they do not experience the same staffing issues that we do. The cost of room and board, additional to transportation, is through the roof, as you could imagine. This happens regularly basic. Retaining a driver will eliminate this. The cost of hiring a new driver cost more than giving unemployment benefit. There is no question that the vast majority of the driver that leave during the summer, they leave because they find jobs. There is summer work available. They leave. There is summer work available at our garage, but it's very limited. You see, our children need food 12 months out of the year. They need roofing over their head 12 months of the year. They need clothing 12 months of the year. Having a job that lasts 9 to 10 months and does not provide unemployment benefit make driver leave for a job that provide all year work long with pay. Unfortunately, when the driver leave, all that money and resource that our company have provided them go out the door with them. All we are asking for is pay in comparison to other worker, construction worker, research worker that only work maybe 5 to 6 months a year compared to us. And provide unemployment benefit, yet we are not. School cafeteria worker that work for a private company also provide unemployment benefit during the summer month, but we are not. While we are not asking they not to provide benefit, all we are asking for is the same. In closing, thank you for this opportunity to speak, and I ask that you please pass this bill so my co-worker and I could provide for our family during a very difficult time in the summer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mull. Thank you. All right. Christy Elliott is coming to us virtually, and I am looking for Miss Elliott. Is she here?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. If you would state your full name, and then you may begin your testimony.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Christy Elliott, and I'm with Ask Me Local Union 1691. And I've been a paraprofessional in the Crosby-Arrington School District for 12 years. I assist 10th through 12th graders who have emotional and behavior disorders and learning disabilities. And I love what I do for a living. Helping students understand their physics and chemistry homework, helping them write papers, and keeping them on task to complete their history assignments are essential parts of my day. But the most crucial thing I can do for Crosby-Arrington students is to be present every single day. To students, I am a known fixture at the school. I greet each student I encounter. I learn their names, but most importantly, I care. When they have a bad day, don't pass their driver's license test, or don't believe in themselves, I ensure that someone cares and helps them see they are capable of anything. I attend students' sporting events and other activities because they notice, and I want them to know someone cares about what is going on in their lives. But working in education as a paraprofessional has come at a steep price for me. I work 3 jobs during the school year, which total more than 70 hours weekly. As I speak to you now, I am on break from my 3rd job as a library aide at a local library, and I open and close the local laundromat every day as well. My only day off from work is Christmas Day. This limits my time with my adult children and my grandson. Why do I do this? Because I have to work as many hours as possible during the school year to save money to survive the summer months. I'm a private person. I am uncomfortable sharing my story with you, but I believe it is necessary. I need you to understand the stark reality we face as school support staff when we do not have access to unemployment income during the summertime. I was a single mom, and my children graduated from the school where I work. They're grown now, but they witnessed my hardships trying to support them and myself. My children and parents, who are retired educators themselves, have been attempting to convince me to move on from this job. And they have no idea how bad it gets for me by August. I can no longer afford fresh vegetables, fruit, and meat by the end of the summer. I survive off of oatmeal, peanut butter with crackers, and frozen fruit if I can afford it. I cannot have a garden to supplement healthy food because I rent, and I do not have the time or the income to support it. I can't even afford to eat lunch at the school where I work because the rate has increased to $4.95 per meal, and I cannot justify the cost. Receiving unemployment compensation during the summer will allow me breathing room, drastically reduce my stress, and improve my physical and mental health through better nutrition. I wish someone would explain to me why school support staff aren't eligible for unemployment in the first place. Road construction workers and loggers are important sectors of our society. They work part of the year and can receive unemployment compensation for their off-season. Why are we seen as less worthy? I've heard the argument that paraprofessionals could find jobs as PCAs during the summer. In my district, all paraprofessionals receive PCA training. However, there are not enough local jobs available for all of us during the summer to work as personal care assistants. Additionally, I do not have a reliable car to drive out of town for work, nor could I afford the gas to commute to a neighboring community. Sadly, my story is not an isolated one. Most school support workers struggle to survive during the summer months. Unemployment compensation could change that harsh reality. It would help existing workers stay working in schools and make working in education more appealing to new employees. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my story.
Thank you so much, Ms. Elliott. Next, we have Ivana Stark, who is coming to us virtually as well, and then we'll have Tina Burkholder. Ms. Stark, if you would like to state your full name, and then you may begin your testimony.
All right. Chair Kunesh and members of the committee, I'm Ivana Stark, and I serve on the Fridley School Board. And one of my committees is serving on the 916 Intermediate School Board as well. I cannot stress enough the staffing shortages that we are suffering from, specifically in 916. 916 serves almost 5,000 students from its 13 member districts with over 120 specialized programs. We are a level 4 special education setting and offer alternative schools, care and treatment services, career and tech training, and special education services. We have around 77 para positions opening. That means there are 77 positions that could be supporting students who have extensive needs. There are 77 positions that aren't keeping students in classrooms safe, on task, and flourishing. Our paras are special and uniquely qualified to support students in emotional distress who may be acting out or hurting themselves. The pandemic has only added to the stress and pressure these students are feeling. They need support that only our paras can offer. Our teachers need the support only paras can offer. Many of our paras have to work multiple jobs, like you've been hearing, just to keep up. They're struggling to make ends meet. When summer rolls around, we lose them to better paying, more consistent positions. Our students build real relationships with these paras. It's vital that we support them so we can retain them and keep our students on a path to success. Our parents, students, and teachers deserve the support these paras offer. I urge your vote yes on Senate File 32. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Stark. Next, we have Tina Burkholder. If you would please state your full name for the record, and then you may begin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, my name is Tina Burkholder. I am the Director of Business Services at Monticello Public Schools and a past president of MASBO, which is the Minnesota Association of School Business Officials. I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak with you regarding Senate File 32. I would like to thank Senator McEwen for her work on this bill and specifically appreciate the amendment to provide ongoing funding for the program. As a school district, we, like all other employees in the state, continue to struggle to fill positions and do believe this additional support to our hourly workers will provide a benefit in which we hope corresponds to increased employment rates. With that being said, we do have a few concerns that I'd like to comment on. One concern is regard to contracted services. We at Monticello contract our transportation services, and we ask that you add another amendment to the bill to allow school bus contractors and other contractors that support education to access the funding. Without an amendment, this bill will create additional inequities that are educational funding formula for those that contract services versus those that provide in-house transportation or other services such as food service. The unemployment cost of our contractors will undoubtedly be passed on to school district. We also have seen increases in our student participation the last couple of years as a result of the pandemic during the summer months, and it's been also a struggle to fill those positions. Like Mr. Camper alluded to earlier, we have questions about what constitutes an offer of employment and how will this impact our ability to staff summer programming that our students need. Having clear guidelines would be greatly appreciated at the administration level. Contrary to what some believe, school districts do not shut down over the summer and can be very busy. Besides summer school programming, we have summer recreational programming and childcare that could be impacted. Again, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today with Senate File 32.
Thank you, Ms. Burkholder. Next, we have Andrea Hannick. She is here virtually. I'm not sure I see. There she is. Hello there. Would you please state your full name for the record, and then you may begin.
Chair Kunich and members of the committee, my name is Andrea Hannick. I am the mother of 3 sons, a single mother, and they all have required varying levels of paraprofessional support as well as specialized transportation in our district. I currently serve as the chair of the Parent Advisory Council on Special Education in ISD 709 in Duluth, Minnesota. When my middle son was in kindergarten, he needed one-on-one support from a para, but his school did not have enough support staff to meet his needs. Without proper staffing levels, my son spent most of his kindergarten year missing large parts of each school day because he was sitting in the principal's office coloring instead of learning in his classroom due to lack of paras. This has continued to affect him throughout his schooling years, and he's now in 5th grade. So in his 3rd grade year, my son was able to access his education more than ever, thanks to having a really, really strong support from his para, who truly cared for him and was focused on his needs throughout each day. Throughout that year, this supportive relationship with his para allowed my son to access more time being included and learning alongside his non-disabled peers. And he was able to change setting levels, which is a really, really, really big deal for kiddos. And that was, so he was able to go from mostly being outside of the general ed classroom to being partially in the general ed classroom, which is, like I said, a really big deal. So unfortunately, his beloved para had to reluctantly leave her job to take a more stable employment opportunity. She looked all summer long for something to just fill that gap, and she looked until she returned in the fall, and she did end up returning for a little bit in the fall, but because she had been looking all summer long, she ended up finding something throughout that time that was a stable job that was year round. And even though the job was much farther away from her home, alleviating the unpredictability and burden of the parent job, it was too much for her. She had to take it, and she really struggled with that. She really struggled because she knew what a big deal she was to my son. So without that strong relationship, my son really struggled. He struggled to access his education, and he struggled to even go to school. We're talking about a 4th grade student that I was at my wit's end trying to figure out how to get him to even physically go, get on the bus. You can't it created a really, really stressful and unstable environment for my son, and ended up very bad. So he had to change schools, and I'm happy to say that he's in a better place, but he'll be forever impacted by that initial time when he wasn't supported, and then that other time. But he did have that moment where he really was supported, so we know what it can look like. So I really implore you to think about my amazing son and how awesome he is, and all these other kiddos are, how well they can do, and how much they need this stability from these providers, from the paraprofessionals, and also I have to give a shout out to the transportation providers that do amazing work with my kids too. So just think of the huge smile from the great sense of accomplishment that my son feels from how hard he works for every inch of progress that he gains. And please keep in mind that this progress is truly only possible with a consistent, healthy, and well-paid individual. Expanding access to unemployment insurance to hourly school workers not only means more stability for the dedicated staff who work with our children, but also more stability and support for our students, especially students with disabilities and their families. So please consider passing this forward, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Ms. Hannock. And then we have Sarah Rapp and Kat Briggs. Ms. Rapp, if you would state your full name, and then you may begin your testimony.
My name is Sarah Rapp. Thank you for having me, Chair, and the members of the committee. I have been a cook at the Hastings High School for 4 years, and I'm a proud member of the SEIU Local 284. You may have seen the food service workers in the news this past week. Today was our day 8 of the strike for a fair contract to address the staffing crisis school workers are facing. Unfortunately, our district will not come to the bargaining table to reach a fair deal with us, which means students are eating cold lunches, and we are missing seeing the kids that we keep these jobs for. But unemployment is a critical piece of that puzzle as well. One of the main reasons I'm on strike is that our wages are way too low. I make $15.05 an hour. It's very hard to get by with these wages. If we don't see changes, many of us are going to leave. We need higher wages or we're going to lose people. We consistently made multiple openings the whole entire time I've worked there. At one point, we had 3 people doing what 8 people are budgeted for. In the summer, we are offered to work way less hours and for even less pay because it's not in our contract. Last summer, I ended up going up north to work as a waitress because I got way more hours and I made more money. This is why we lose people. Because we go out and we scramble to find work, and we find something, which isn't hard to find something that you make more money. They won't come back. Or they come back and they decide, no, really it was better there. So they just stop working. And we shouldn't have to sacrifice to do this work. And at some point, this disrespect will mean people won't do the work. And if this becomes a job with even higher turnover, it will mean the job isn't done well. We will lose good people, and it would be bad for all the students and the staff. Unemployment in the summer would allow me to support my son and spend time with him as he grows. Our strike shows that we are facing a crisis. It isn't just us, it's school workers across the state. Passing this bill would make a huge difference in ensuring the amazing staff we have in our schools are able to stay in these jobs, and we can get some new people. This is good for the workers, and it is good for our students, and it's good for the entire community. Because if we have caring people in the schools, it spreads throughout the community. And thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Madam Chair.
Yes. I was just like so taken by that testimony. Yes, Senator Umu Verbatim.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to acknowledge Ms. Rapp while we had her with us and just say we feel the emotion in your testimony, and it's wrong, the disrespect that you've experienced. It's unfair, and there's so many of us here that support you in the strike. We wish you well in those negotiations. We know how hard you work for our students, how much you love them, and just thank you for your work.
Thank you. All right. Ms. Briggs, if you would please state your full name, and then you may begin your testimony.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and members of the committee and Senator. My name is Kat Briggs, and I am a school bus driver for Independent School District 196. When I left corporate America, I wanted to give back to my community. Growing up, I had the same bus driver from elementary school through my senior year in high school. Peggy, bus 39, knew my name, where I lived, what my schedule was. She took me to and from school each day, as well as driving me to various athletic events and field trips. She was a great school bus driver, and I hope I make the same impact on my students that she made on me. When I started my bus driving career, I was very naive. I thought I was able to get unemployment, just like my sons who work construction. I was so struck by the fact that there was a state statute that prevented hourly school employees from collecting unemployment benefits due to reasonable assurance of employment in the fall. Other seasonal employees have a reasonable assurance of work, but still get access to this basic safety net program. My boys may not have known exactly what job they were going to report to in the spring, but they knew there would always be concrete to pour. My husband is a farmer. My first year driving coincided with bad weather years for farmers. Had it not been for a federal program, we would have lost our home the first year I drove for ISD 196. Had it not been for an incentive bonus and back pay from contract negotiations, I would not have made it through my cancer diagnosis last year. School workers shouldn't be asked to go from financial crisis to financial crisis. We deserve the same benefit everyone else gets. The first summer of COVID, I did get unemployment. Because of the pandemic and the school shutdown, my unemployment claim was approved. We still had to be careful with our money, but we didn't have to scrimp and save the way we have to every other year. I could drive to my son's place in Kenyon to help with my new grandbaby and not have to worry about affording the gas. It was a small amount of money, but it made a huge difference. I worry for our new employees. No one tells them that they can't get unemployment. I worry for myself and my coworkers as inflation has eaten into my wallet, making my summer months scary again. We bid on summer routes, and just about every driver bids. They are assigned by a seniority. Summer routes are approximately 16 hours per week compared to 40+ hours during the school year. and summer school is only for a 3 to 6 week period at most. Unemployment would provide me with a partial wage replacement for the weeks between the end of the school year and the beginning. I fear that as we hire drivers and they learn that there is not enough work during the summer months and they cannot collect unemployment benefits, they will quit and take their commercial driver's licenses elsewhere. It is critical that we have the best people to drive our kids, and when they're on my bus, they're my kids. We are understaffed and constantly trying to recruit new drivers and chaperones. All school districts are in a recruiting and retention crisis in each and every department. Children need consistency in their lives these days as the world has become inconsistent for them. What better way to show consistency than to have the same bus drivers, chaperones, food service, and other staff year to year? Give us the opportunity to receive unemployment compensation. It is not a handout. It is not forever. It is not at the expense of an education budget. It's something that equalizes hourly school employees with the rest of the hourly employees in the state. You as legislators have the ability to make unemployment benefits a reality for hourly school employees like myself and my coworkers. It is time to make this a permanent reality for us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Briggs. That is the last of our pre-scheduled testifiers. Is there anyone from the audience that wishes to speak? All right. Members, are there questions or comments? Senator Rarick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And what I'm wondering, we've had some testimony about what the people believe the impacts of the bill would be. What we haven't had is an actual walkthrough of the bill and how it's going to work. I mean, this is an issue that, when it came up during the pandemic, I serve on the UI advisory board. I took a lot of this on. We did, for kids under 18, we were able to get them on. That was something that I worked on. This was an issue that was far more difficult than any of the others. The kids 18 and under, that was already being paid in by their employers. The big issue with this bill is, this one is the employers are not paying in for these workers right now, and it became, the big question is, who would pick up the tab to cover this? How would it impact schools if they would have an experience rating or if they would be covering all of that? And so I would just, I don't know if the author would rather I ask a couple questions or if she would just prefer to kind of go through the bill as to how those issues are going to be dealt with.
Senator McEwen.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Senator Rarick, for your questions. We do have Deputy Commissioner Evan Rowe here. I wonder if he could join us up at the table. But I am aware that this has been sort of the crux, this issue that you're raising, Senator Rarick, and there has been some different ideas and some work being done over on the House side and with the administration and then with the coalition around this, and I think that Deputy Commissioner Rowe can help us with that.
Deputy Rowe.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Senator Rarick.
Would you please state your full name for the record first?
Yes, my name is Evan Rowe. I'm Deputy Commissioner for Workforce Services and Operations at the Department of Employment and Economic Development.
And you may begin.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair and Senator Rarick. Yes, so the mechanism in this bill is different than what was introduced in previous years. And I think the department has worked with the bill authors to kind of come up with a simplified, streamlined approach to make it simpler to implement, faster to implement, and hopefully make it easier for the districts as well. So broadly, what we're talking about doing here is we'd establish a base year. So take a look at what school districts' unemployment expenses were basically this past year. and then compare that value to the value that they would have under the new legislation. And then there would be a credit mechanism, basically a rebate that would go back to the districts. And there's an appropriation in the bill that would make districts whole or a pro rata of the whole based on that difference between unemployment insurance costs before the change went into effect and the costs after the changes went into effect. And just to the point around, pretty much, as far as we know, pretty much all school districts are reimbursing employers. So they pay the actual amount of unemployment insurance expenses that are found on their account.
Senator Rarick, follow-up?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So I guess one of the questions I would have then, I see this in here twice. First is on page 1 in section 1, and then again it was on section 9, but the part C where it says if the total eligible unemployment aid for the fiscal year is greater than the annual appropriation, it would be reduced proportionately or for each eligible entity. Can you explain to us what that means?
Deputy Commissioner.
Madam Chair, Senator Rarick, so basically the idea here is if the bill appropriates a set amount of money, since we have to appropriate real dollars for an expense such as this. And the concept here is that if the actual unemployment insurance expenses are higher than that appropriation, the payment to each district would be proportionately reduced. So if, let's say, we are appropriating $100, but the actual expenses were 110, then it would be reduced by that 10/11, to like a 10/11 ratio.
Senator Rarick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So then would each school district be responsible for that extra portion that was not covered by this appropriation?
Deputy Commissioner.
Madam Chair, Senator, that's correct. And with that being said, certainly our hope is that the projection, that this is sort of a belt and suspenders kind of approach, right? We want to make sure that the legislation covers any eventuality. We certainly hope that wouldn't be the case.
Senator Rarick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I want to verify then as well, when we talk about with the University of Minnesota, the Min-State and the tribal colleges, we have in there on a pro rata basis, that is the same thing, that if the appropriation is not enough, they would get that distributed equally according to their use, but then they would be responsible for the remaining portion.
Deputy Commissioner.
Madam Chair, Senator, the mechanism would work the same way for all the individual accounts, yes.
Follow-up?
Yeah. Well, thank you, Madam Chair. And so I guess that, ultimately that is still one of the concerns for me. And I will say, as I've looked at the numbers and I appreciated the work and the numbers that were shown by Mr. Camper, but after listening to the testimony, I would wonder, and I don't know if he would be willing to answer a quick question, but in his numbers, he estimated there would probably be like an 11% usage, but after hearing the testimony today, and he questioned, he has a $28 million number as opposed to the agency having 161. I'm wondering if after hearing the testimony today, if he feels his 11% is accurate and the 28 million number would be closer, if the agency might be on track with the 161.
Mr. Camper.
Madam Chair, Senator Rarick, committee members, thank you for the question. As I said during my testimony, our number is derived from the hard numbers from Illinois. And as I said, if the Illinois example carries through here in Minnesota, 28 million, give or take a couple of bucks, is going to be the right number. Also, just to be clear, 11% would be 11% if everyone who took it for the whole summer. Because we know people will go weeks in, weeks out, it's going to be more than 11% of the population, but sort of a net full-time equivalent, so to speak, of 11%. Because we don't have any other comparators, EPI and me speaking for EPI, we're reluctant to speculate past what the numbers from Illinois tell us.
Senator Rarick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I I get that you're basing that off of, another state and maybe a little bit different circumstances. I have a little more faith as we're doing this with the numbers from the agency, just because of the fact that our schools would be on the hook for any shortfall that is in this appropriation. So the thing that still worries me, that there would be a shortfall. And then I guess the other thing that worries me, and it was alluded to by one of the testifiers, this is an appropriation we're making this year, but future legislatures are not bound by that. That could change. The appropriation could go away, but the eligibility would remain, and the school districts would be on the hook for the complete amount. So, I mean, there are still, it was brought up that one of the potential ideas could, would be that this remains in effect while the state is covering the tab, or one where you could then say if the state's appropriations are going away, school districts would have an option to opt out if they cannot afford it, because we hear that many times in this committee, classrooms are many times the first places that are getting cut, because this would be something that is a absolute requirement of them to pay, and so they would have to find other areas to cut in order to afford this. So that's why, like I said, this was an incredibly difficult one to deal with, and again, and it was brought up too, the contract bus companies, we've heard it many times that, well, the contract bus companies, their employees get this. But in the testimony we heard and what I had discovered was, that's not 100% true. The vast majority of their drivers do not collect unemployment every summer because they have that same thing. They're told that they have that job to come back to, and so they're not getting that. And so I would also agree that if we pass this as it is, we're going the other way, and now the school district drivers are going to get this, and the vast majority, or well, actually the contract drivers would get it, but those school districts would be in jeopardy of not having this funding source, and so then they would be paying that out of their pocket. So I do think there's a little bit to work on this yet to make it what it really needs to be, so that, because that has always been my number one concern, is that this is going to fall back onto the school districts. And as someone who's in the construction industry, and we draw that comparison many times, the vast majority of people in the construction industry do not get laid off over the course of the winter. Even all those in many, 49ers who operate equipment, they have many jobs that will go through the winter. But the difference there as well is they don't know when in the fall the weather is going to end work, and they don't know when in the spring weather is going to allow work to begin. So that is one of the other differences, and their contractors pay the premium price on their experience rating. So that is something, if this was done the same way, our school districts would end up paying an incredibly high price on an experience rating, as these employees would be on it every year. So just things I want people to keep in mind and to understand that there are a lot of intricacies as to how this actually works. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator. Senator McEwen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I think I'm new, Senator McEwen, to education finance, and so I hope you'll bear with me while I just ask some questions that are technical about the bill. I'm looking on page 2, and I'm looking at subdivision 7, so starting on 211. Wage credits from employment with educational institutions may not be used for unemployment benefit purposes, and then we've got clauses 1, 2, and then we've got stricken language there. Clauses 1 and 2 are not struck. Is this the place in this part of the bill? Is this the place where it's doing the thing that, I just want to be really clear. In E12, is this the place where we're allowing hourly workers to be eligible for unemployment in these two parts where the language is struck? Madam Chair.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Senator, go ahead.
Just want to honor Madam Chair, thank you. In a nutshell, I believe the answer is yes, kind of. I will go ahead and ask Deputy Commissioner Rowe to provide us some more detail, but yes, this is part of making, and I think we may have some response to some of the comments that were offered by Senator Rarick too, that may tie into what you're asking here. But this is all part of trying to find that right balance where this is going to be covered, and this is going to be part of a, that the bill, that school districts will be helped by this. This is going to be a net gain. So with that, I'll pass it to Deputy Commissioner Rowe.
Deputy Commissioner, please.
Madam Chair, Senator McQuaid. Yeah, so this is the part of the bill that does the thing. I think that's technical. It's a technical UI term of art. And the reason you don't strike the whole, you're not striking the whole subdivision is there are actually still employees who there are still school workers who under federal law, we are legally prohibited from paying unemployment benefits to. So teachers and other professional staff it is illegal under federal law to pay them. So the kind of the strike throughs on these pieces, on these parts of the bill, are basically what are removing the ineligibility for the non-instructional staff, while still making sure that the statute would conform to federal requirements.
Follow up.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So one of the things that I noted right away is that the language that's struck in, 2.19 to 2.22, 2.28 to 2.31 is the same language that's replicated later and added for who does qualify. And so one of the things that I'm a little confused about is folks talked about, like, there's confusion on what it means, but if there's not confusion about what it means when you don't get it, why is there confusion about what it would mean if it's the same language but you do get it? Does that make sense? What I'm asking? I'll repeat it. The language that's struck that prohibits hourly employees from getting wage credits towards unemployment is later replicated saying they do get it. And so my question is, why is, when the law is as it is now, it's clear who doesn't get it, but when we replicate that language later to say who does get it, it's suddenly confusing. I'm not sure why that is. Dave Camper gets what I'm saying, Madam Chair. I think he understands my question.
Deputy Commissioner? And you can take a minute.
Thanks. That would be great, Madam Chair.
Yeah.
And Madam Chair, I'd be happy to read it so that it's clearer too, my question.
Why don't you go ahead?
Okay.
And those that are online would be able to hear that as well.
Okay. So I'm looking at 2.19 to 2.22. This is language that's struck. This paragraph applies to a vacation period or holiday recess if the applicant was employed immediately before the vacation period or holiday recess, and there is a reasonable assurance that the applicant will be employed immediately following the vacation period or holiday recess. Okay. So we're taking that language out of statute because currently it's what's prohibiting hourly employees from getting these wage credits. And then on lines 3.11 to 3.16, we have this applies to a vacation period or holiday recess if the applicant was employed immediately before the vacation period or holiday recess, and there's a reasonable assurance that the applicant will be employed immediately following the vacation period or holiday recess. Basically saying that folks can get wage credits now. We've taken the struck language and we've replicated it here. And so I understand what is happening in this section because I'm understanding who is going to get it. But what I heard from some testifiers is that it wasn't clear who would be eligible or what they would be eligible for, and I don't understand their confusion since we've replicated the language that was used before. Why are they confused when the language is identical? It's just saying who gets it, not who doesn't.
Deputy Commissioner?
Madam Chair and Senator, my sense here is that this is really just moving some of the language from paragraph A to paragraph C, and that there's not, and some of this is not like total, and some of this is not substantive, right? In the sense that it's just kind of, it's rearranging it because some of the addition, because really the language in paragraph B is the piece that's really changing is removing the between terms exclusion, I guess. So I think my sense here is that what's happening is 2.19 to 2.22 is basically moving to 3.11 to 3.16, and then it's 2.28 to 2.31 that is basically removing the exclusion on those workers. And I think from a practical and administrative standpoint, right, I think, I hope everybody won't have to read the legislation to be able to do it. And from an administrative standpoint, I think that's what, this shouldn't have any impact on an applicant's experience, to be clear.
Thank you, Commissioner. Senator McEwen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I appreciate you pointing me to the paragraph that's in, my technical language doing the thing. But again, that paragraph replicates language. And so I think what I'm trying to say is I heard from some testifiers that, there might be confusion about who is eligible and what does this language mean. And I think it's really clear what the language means because it already exists in statute already. And so if we know that this specific language has excluded people before, replicating that language later is identical to who is now included. And so I wanted to know if you understood maybe something different than I did about why there would be confusion. Madam Chair, I would like to make a comment about the bill and potentially about the fiscal note, whether it's $28 million or $165 million. When we sit here and talk about the amount of money that would go into unemployment insurance, and $165 million is a lot of money, which means that is a lot of people who do not have wage replacement during the summer, who are already making very little amounts of money. And so, Senator Rarick, I think you were talking a little about like where your concern is. My concern is that districts might have to pay it out, but if they don't, these are people who are living, like losing their homes while they're on chemotherapy, or they're not able to feed their children or keep their farms, or, all of these things, right? Have a garden. And so the bigger the fiscal note here, the more the need, I guess, is what I'm seeing. And I really just want us to make sure, I want to make sure that we don't pretend that if we don't do this, if we leave things as they are, that there's no harm caused or that everything's fine, because we've had testifier after testifier after testifier come forward and say, it's not fine, we're not okay. And, I have a 9-month-old daughter, and she is forming her very first attachments with adults that aren't her parents or her grandparents. And, she lost a daycare lady to lens crafters. I don't want her to lose a school bus driver to Walmart. I don't want her to lose a para to McDonald's. I want to be sure that the people who feed and care for and drive and educate and support our students have the most support from us. I mean, that's really our job as legislators on this committee. And so I'm grateful to you, Senator McEwen, for doing the work, obviously with all the stakeholders, to get the bill to where it is and to continue that work. But the need here was just so apparent and heartbreaking, and I'm really glad we have the opportunity to do something. And I really look forward to getting this done.
Next, we have Senator Lucero, who is remote and has his hand up. Senator Lucero, if you would like to speak, would you please turn your camera on and tell us where you are, and then you may speak.
I am in St. Michael. I won't be able to turn my camera on due to not being in a light conducive area. My question, Madam Chair, is in regard to that fiscal note that Senator McEwen was just discussing, is it the intent of the chair or the committee to use or be the basis of the funding of this per the Minnesota fiscal note or per a third-party estimate? Just so I can help in understanding these conversations.
Senator Lucero, would you repeat that and maybe speak a little slower or clearer?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. In regards to the fiscal note, is it the intent of the chair to use the Minnesota-based fiscal note estimate or to use the estimate from a third party?
Senator Lucero, I believe we are somewhat bound to use that fiscal note, even though there has been some strong questioning and asking for DEED to, number one, qualify and quantify that amount, and perhaps go back and maybe refigure it at this time. This is what we have to work with, but recognizing that there are many that feel that this is an unusually high estimate and are quite concerned, as well as convinced that it is perhaps not the right amount. And I could maybe go to the author. Senator McEwen, could you give us a little bit more background information on that fiscal note and why it is that high amount?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. So the fiscal note that we are working with, as I understand it at this point, is a preliminary note. So as Senator Rarick alluded to, this is something that a number of lawmakers, including Senator Rarick and Representative Emma Greenman over on the House side, have been working on for some time, trying to sort of crack this nut and make this work. So what this preliminary estimate does represent is, and I really like this approach as I've worked through this, is the way that it appears to me is it is a sort of higher estimate of what we've heard a much different lower estimate. And so the feeling is this is comprehensive, this will cover this. And then that what would be, and then over these next years, as the program is implemented, we'll get the numbers that have been somewhat hard to come by. We won't have to rely on working on estimates from Illinois and DEED trying to come up with these different ways to figure out what the numbers are. We'll have them. And so we'll be able to really narrow it down, but we have to launch it so that we can get these solid numbers. And with that, I do want Deputy Commissioner Rowe to be able to comment on that as well.
Deputy Commissioner?
Madam Chair and Senator Lucero, yeah, I think this is the preliminary fiscal note. The agency, we're still kind of double checking and kind of confirming all the final numbers. I wouldn't expect things to radically change from this current estimate. And I think, again, this is as has been kind of discussed, as Senator McEwen said, is that it's a new population. There are other examples nationwide. We try to follow a consistent methodology in terms of developing the fiscal note. Reasonable people can disagree, but in the fiscal note kind of lays out our methodology. If people feel strongly enough that is not, that some of the assumptions should change, that's certainly something that it's the legislature's prerogative.
Thank you so much. Senator Lucero.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I appreciate that conversation. In my 9 years in the legislature, it has been my experience that while there may be instances where we disagree with the fiscal note is the fiscal note. The estimate is the estimate. And while we may have hoped or sought something different, that has to be the basis. And so I'm very concerned about the comments we just heard from the chief author, that we have to pass the bill in order to find out how much it's going to cost. That's not what I want to do. I don't think that's what Minnesotans want to do. We need to know what the cost is before we pass the bill. My second question, Madam Chair, is to the
excuse me, Senator Lucero?
Oh, yep.
Just for a minute. I was just informed that if you would like to speak and if you would like to eventually vote, you do have to turn your camera on.
Okay, let me readjust then, and if you want to move on to the next question after, I will come back. Let me readjust my lighting. I'll be...
Sounds good.
I'll put my hand back up when that time comes. Thank you.
Perfect. Senator Rarick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, to that, I guess, kind of two quick questions then. Will we be getting I get it, it's a preliminary, but will we be getting that fiscal note, or is there a better one that's being worked on that we would get? And then the second question would be, we have it in here that if this is not enough, what we would do. If this ends up being too much, I don't see anything in here that would direct that it would go back to, like, say, to the general fund. So I don't know if council can let us know, would that happen, or would that language need to be in here that if this number is actually too much, that money would come back and go back into the general fund?
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Deputy Commissioner.
Madam Chair, Senator Eric, to your first question, yes, the agency is working on you all have the preliminary fiscal note. We're working on the final fiscal note at this time.
Thank you so much. And Ms. Helfer, are you able to respond to that as well?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Senator Rarick, to the second part of your question about what happens if the appropriation exceeds the actual amount needed to reimburse the districts, that appropriation, if there is extra, would then cancel back to the general fund.
Thank you. Question, Senator Crewen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think my question is for Mr. Camper. I'm just looking at your handout. You reference Illinois and say that no other state does this right now. And Illinois did it for 2020 only. Can you give us some context about what the story was there in Illinois, why they did it, and why they no longer do it?
Mr. Camper.
Madam Chair, Senator, thank you for the question. The short answer is I'm not entirely sure. I did talk to a number of people in Illinois. My understanding is that they saw it as a pandemic emergency measure, but that in practice it didn't function that way because people who'd been laid off from the school during the school year already got unemployment. Which is why the numbers were adjusted for those job losses. As to why it was not continued, I'm afraid I'm not in a position to say. I understand the question, but I'm afraid I just don't have the knowledge to answer.
Senator Crewen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate that. I was just kind of maybe suspecting it was a pandemic thing. I didn't know that. I just looking at the year thought maybe that's what might have been going on, and that actually makes a lot of sense to me. If the government is shutting down businesses and the schools are shut down or not in person, there's nowhere else to get that summer job. There's not those employment options available, and that would make sense to me. But I guess now we're in a completely different situation where we have a severe labor shortage. Every person, it seems like, that comes to my office, every business person is talking about how they can't find people to fill their positions from all sorts of sectors across the board. So I do have serious concerns about how this could exacerbate a labor shortage. But I'll just leave my comments at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Crewen. We do have Senator Lucero on camera now, if you would like to follow up with your questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And so I've got my tripod ring light, so hopefully that's coming across good. So my next question is to the department. Senator Rarick earlier raised a question regarding concern of future state funding of a future legislature. So my question for the department, does a precedent exist of unfunded mandates on our K-12 schools now?
Deputy Commissioner.
Madam Chair, Senator Lucero, I guess as the Deputy Commissioner for Employment and Economic Development, I'm not particularly well qualified to speak to the K-12 system in that regard.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Senator Lucero.
Is there a Department of Ed representative in the audience that could help answer my question?
Yes, Mr. Uni is here, and he's coming to the microphone.
And Madam Chair, while he's coming up, I'll just reiterate the question. My question is, have there been instances does a precedent exist of unfunded mandates by the state onto our school districts?
Mr. Uni.
Madam Chair, committee members, I believe, one thing that's popping out in my head right now is, and as an example of maybe where the federal government requires something of the states that isn't fully funded, is around special education requirements that aren't fully funded. In terms of state ones, I'd be remiss if I pick out any one in particular. Senator Lucero, I would say that sometimes there are probably requirements in statute that don't have the full funding that districts may point out that they need. Senator Lucero, are you requesting a particular item for me to name?
Senator Lucero.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No, nothing in particular. I just wanted to know if there are examples of history whereby the school districts are having to contend with mandates that are going unfunded. So then, Madam Chair, my last question, follow-up question would be, in those cases, while there are mandates that our school districts have to adhere to that aren't being funded by the state or the government, who makes up that gap? Where does that funding come from to adhere to the mandates in terms of being in compliance?
Mr. Uni.
Madam Chair, Senator Lucero and committee members, so there are a range of funding streams that districts and charter schools receive for their operating costs, for their facility costs. Most of the operations are covered by general education funding, so the general education formula. And then there are several other formulas that cover a range of different programs. And so they would be able to cover whatever the cost is for the operations that they need to engage in to meet their statutory requirements for the services that they need to provide for their students, or services they need to provide for their staff members, and supports their either with their general education funding or other dedicated funding streams.
Senator Lucero.
Thank you. And this is my normal question, just final comment. Out in school districts out in my community, multiple school districts are having to contend with mandates that are not being funded, fully funded by general education or other revenue streams, and therefore they're creating cross subsidies, having to pull from the general fund to fund these mandates and leaving a gap. And where there is a gap, then they're having to go to local taxpayers to fund that gap. And when they go to local taxpayers, that results in property tax increases. So my concern, I think, is very well founded based on the comments from Senator Rarick and the estimated fiscal note that we've heard here, in that there would be a significant potential whereby the state would pass this mandate. It would not be fully funded, as we have seen in precedent here. And then the burden would further fall onto the local taxpayers via property tax. I'm very concerned about. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Response, Senator McEwen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this is not an unfunded mandate. There is literally money in the bill to pay for the concerns that have been raised by Senator Lucero. And frankly, it's time for us to stop balancing the budgets of our school districts on the backs of these workers.
Senator McEwen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This question might be for the Deputy Commissioner. If somebody doesn't make enough money in their job and they have to apply for SNAP, WIC, housing benefits, Medicaid, who pays for that?
Deputy Commissioner.
Madam Chair, Senator McEwen, I'm not an expert on those programs. That's DHS, but I believe generally it's a combination of state and federal funding that pays for those benefits.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Senator Swedzinski.
You know, I'd be remiss if I just didn't say one thing. Thanks for the, I've learned more about unemployment insurance tonight than I've known in my entire life, and for that I thank you. And I don't know enough about unemployment insurance. I've never collected it, but I do know right from wrong. And for us to be providing unemployment insurance for what are basically historically male-dominated trades, and to not provide unemployment insurance for historically predominantly female-dominated trades and occupations doesn't pass the smell test for me at all. And so for that, Senator, I just want to thank you for bringing this to my attention. And I do know that in my high school for years, the head of security complained about that his team, every June, they were sent home. And every September, he had to train in all new people because they just found other jobs over the summer because they couldn't just wait. And anyways, and education's all about relationships. And if kids have to show up in September, sorry, I had the month wrong a minute ago. If the kids show up in September and they got to meet new bus drivers and meet new cooks and meet new security, it's just another thing that's wrong with this educational system that we can do the right thing for. So thanks for bringing this to my attention tonight.
And we have one more. Senator Farnsworth, I see your hand up. If you would please put your camera on and tell us where you are remote testifying from, and you may begin your questioning.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just arrived in Hibbing, and so I have heard all of the testimony tonight. And my question is, so of course everybody knows that I'm a teacher. I talk a lot about that, and so the support staff, of course, have been invaluable to me in my career. As a teacher, I have a 9-month contract, but I'm able to collect my salary for a period of 12 months. And so I'm wondering if the chief author if they looked at that as a possibility, rather than going the route of unemployment, but of providing some mechanism where these staff could take their salary over a period of 12 months, especially with the increase that we're going to have in education, so possibly increase the salary and then have that over 12 months rather than going the route of unemployment. And the reason I ask is that I also have kind of some concerns about the funding and the unemployment ratio.
Senator McEwen, these are hourly workers, am I correct? These are not salaried, so in any given week or perhaps due to a snow day or an illness, this isn't it's not a contract, it's an hourly wage, am I right?
That's correct. That's
okay.
correct,
Would you like to expound and perhaps expand the response to Senator Farnsworth?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Senator Farnsworth, for the question. What we're doing here is exactly what you allude to, Madam Chair, is providing a basic benefit that is available to other Minnesota workers. We're extending it to these hourly school workers. It is absolutely true, and we've heard a lot of heartbreaking testimony about it, just how low, just the low pay that these workers receive and how wrong that is. That's correct. It is shameful, the low rate of pay that these workers are making. I would be delighted to see school districts, in response to this, decide, you know what, we're going to make these workers year-round workers. We're not going to lay them off. We're not going to pay unemployment if we never lay them off. So they could continue to employ school workers year-round if they want to change up the model of the way that they're doing this. But that's we're trying to deal with a number of different problems in this area right now. This is one of the pieces, is providing this basic floor benefit for these workers, just like every other Minnesota worker gets. And we have another bill. Senator Elise Mann has a bill addressing wages as well. And if we can see the whole way that this is done shift to the betterment of those workers' livelihoods, then all the better.
And I would imagine that if you're making $15 and maybe working 30 hours a week for those months of the school year, now stretching that out is not going to make any difference. It's only going to make things probably a lot more difficult because you have even less every single month, every single week. And so, Senator Farnsworth, did you have a follow-up?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And I understand that these are hourly workers and the salaries are low. That's why I suggested, as part of raising the formula, that it would raise salaries. And it just seems to me that, and I don't know a ton about, the labor laws, but it seems to me that if we were able to, suggest that school districts would convert the hourly PSAs or whatever to salary. For instance, if you have a PSA that works 5 days a week, 30 hours a week in that 5 days, it would be fairly easy to figure out what that weekly salary would be and perhaps convert that in, or the weekly hourly rate would be, and convert that to a salary, factor in a pay raise, and then the schools, I think, it seems to me, it would be a lot more predictable to be able to extrapolate that over 12 months than guessing, well, I wonder if somebody's going to take unemployment this summer or if they're going to be able to find another job. And I guess the thing that I would prefer is to see something that's more predictable, like you have with the teacher contract. So I was just wondering if that was something that was explored through this process and through the research of this bill.
And we'll go to Senator McEwen, but Senator McEwen, isn't it also true that oftentimes these hourly workers are not given like a full 40-day week and kept at just to the point of not being able to receive benefits? So if we put them at a salaried rate at a full 40 hours a week with full benefits, and then perhaps paid them, as you are suggesting, Senator Farnsworth, a better salary, do you think that would eliminate the need for unemployment in the summer?
Thank you, Madam Chair. That's an excellent question. I guess I think the discussion should continue with school districts about how they work this out. Again, I am delighted to hear what Senator Farnsworth is suggesting. I think all of us would like to see hourly school workers enjoy the same sort of employment security and stability and higher pay that is more on par with what our teachers are able to enjoy.
Members, any more comments or questions? Well, this has been a very good discussion. I want to thank all of the folks that came in this evening and told their heart-wrenching from the very base of their experiences to help us understand better. Some of us do understand. Some of us have been hourly workers that have worked a full-time job and then 1 or 2 or 3 just to make the ends meet. That's nothing new for some of us. For others, that might be a little bit further from their imagination, but that doesn't mean that we can neglect our responsibility as legislators to ensure that Minnesotans are earning a livable wage, that they have the benefits that they need to be healthy and happy, and that they are able to enjoy a life that perhaps includes recreation, leisure, time with their family, time to put in a garden, to exercise, to walk, to put money away, to go on a vacation. These are the things that are just sort of basic human rights. and that's what we're talking about here. And so, Senator McEwen, do you have any closing remarks for us?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, members. Just very briefly, again, this is just a question of fundamental fairness, and I think that a lot of people have spoken to that in their testimony and in their remarks. And it is true that what this really is about is, do we value the work of these people? Why are we treating their work as less valuable, somehow less worthy than other workers in our state? It's wrong the way that it is set up right now. So this is all about correcting this injustice. We have a very solid, good bill in the works right now in the House and now here in the Senate as well, with an allocation to make sure that districts are able to make this happen and are going to be whole and actually benefit from being able to retain these workers for longer term. So this is a wonderful thing, to be able to correct a historic wrong in a way that is going to benefit so many people, benefit our students, our parents, our school districts, our teachers, and these workers who are doing this truly essential care work for our communities. Again, I also want to thank all of the workers who took time out of their lives and have, in many cases, repeatedly shared their very personal stories and put themselves out there to advocate not just for themselves, but for their colleagues in their schools and their students, and to fight for these basic rights. So thank you to those workers and testifiers, and to the advocates and legislators who've been working to make this bill a reality now for some time. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator McEwen. So members, Senator Gustafson renews her motion to move and to send this as amended to higher ed. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
No.
The ayes have it, and this bill is on to higher ed. Thank you again for all of you who came in this evening, who joined us remotely, and with that, this committee is adjourned.